In Guatemala, protests continue against the judicial decision to suspend the Semilla Movement Party after it was elected to participate in the presidential runoff on August 20. In Russia, air defenses and naval forces repelled a drone attack on the Crimean port city of Sevastopol, the main base of Russian Black Sea Fleet. In Kenya, the fifth mid-year coordination meeting of the African Union took place, and this is the main forum for the coordination of the work and the implementation of the continental integration agenda since 2017. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Razabal from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Protest continues in Guatemala against the judicial decision to suspend the Semilla Movement Party after being elected to participate in the presidential runoff next August 20th. On Sunday, several groups and social organizations gathered in front of the main headquarters of the Police Ministry for the fourth consecutive day. The demonstrators demand the resignation of both Attorney General Consuelo Porras and the head of the Special Prosecutorate against Impunity, Rafael Curruchiche, following the request of temporary suspension of the Semilla Movement Party. The Seventh Criminal Court ordered the temporary suspension of Semilla's legal status. However, the Constitutional Court granted the political organization a provisional injunction, allowing it to participate in the presidential runoff next August. The four indigenous children rescued from the Amazon jungle in Colombia were discharged from the hospital Thursday night after months of care in a military hospital. According to the director of the Colombian Institute of Family Welfare, Astrid Cáceres, since they were rescued by military personnel and indigenous people on June 9, the Mucutuy brothers, aged 13, 9, 5, and 1 year, had been hospitalized in an armed forces hospital in Bogotá. Cáceres stated that there are no physical consequences of the 40 days spent wandering through the Amazon jungle, where they were after a plane crash that killed a mother and two other adults. So far, only videos are known of the moment in which a group of indigenous people found them in the forest. In the hospital, they received special treatment and were fed with typical preparation of the Huitoto people. In the United States, a tsunami warning has been issued after a 7.2 magnitude earthquake in the Alaska Peninsula region. The U.S. tsunami warning system issued a threat for nearby region after the earthquake, which struck early on Sunday. According to the United States Geological Survey, the notable quake was initially read at 7.4 magnitude, but this was revised to 7.2. The Alaska Earthquake Center said that the events were felt widely throughout the Aleutian Island, the Alaskan Peninsula, and cooked into regions. The tsunami warning was changed to an advisory, which specifies that strong currents or dangerous waves are expected, imminent, or occurring. According to the USGS, despite the frequency of earthquakes, only those measured above a magnitude of 4 or 5 tend to cause damage. Scorching weather gripped three continents on Sunday, wiping out wildfires and threatening to double temperature records as the dire consequences of global warming take shape. Prediction of historic heat hung over watches of Asia, Europe, and the United States. Japan, for example, issued heatstroke alerts to tens of millions of people in 20 of the 47 prefectures at near record high temperatures, scorched areas, and torrential rain plumped over regions. The United States National Weather Service reported that a powerful heat wave stretching from California to Texas was expected to peak during an extremely hot and dangerous weekend. Southern California is fighting numerous wildfires, including one in Riverside County that has burned thousands of acres and prompted evacuation orders. Further north, the Canadian government said wildfires had burned a record-breaking 10 million hectares this year, with more damage expected as the summit drags on. Rains in Japan flood northeastern coastal areas, while authorities alert of possible landslides. Weather officials said northeastern localities are flooded due to the record rainfall figures on Saturday. The city of Oga received about 190 millimeters of rainfall in the last 12 hours, more than the average for the whole month of July. Local officials warned that several rivers have overflowed their banks, which is why they have issued several evacuation orders. Railway authorities warned that train service remains suspended as well. Between Thursday and Friday, rains falling across the country left at least 7 people dead and significant material damages. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, new days, some more. All the studies coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. In France, French-British singer and actress Jean Birkin died at the age of 76. According to sources, the singer, born in London in 1946, was found dead at her home in the city of Paris. However, the cause of death and other details have not been reported at this time. Birkin became known after moving to France in the 1960s, when the cultural relationship with England was going through a particularly fruitful period. The actress also shot some 70 films during her career, with directors such as Jacques Rivette and Jean-Luc Godard. In her career as a singer, Birkin embodied the style described by experts as bohemian and elegant, as well as being characterized by her British accent and instantly recognizable voice. Let's listen to a short excerpt from the piece entitled Jane B., in which Birkin collaborated with cellist Camille Thomas and pianist Julien Brocal. More than 90 people were arrested on Friday during the celebrations of the French National Day. According to the French Ministry of the Interior, during the popular festivity, concerts and fireworks aimed at celebrating the French ideals of liberty, equality and fraternity, there were clashes between the demonstrators and the almost 45,000 police officers who were there, deployed by the government in the streets. The ministry detailed that a total of 255 vehicles were set on fire and 96 people were arrested in the courses of the clashes. France celebrated on Friday the national holiday of Bastille Day, a celebration that marks the beginning of the French Revolution on July 14, 1789. In the United Kingdom, union doctors have walked off the job to take part in a 5-day strike for a pay rise. Health professionals are continuing the protest, which began on Thursday, 13 July, for the third day in a row, demanding better pay. UK-based doctors complained that their purchasing power has been eroded over the past 15 years due to the inflation in the country. The health workers' representatives claims that salaries should be increased by up to 35% and have rejected the government's proposed 5% pay rise. The government, for its part, says that the health workers' demands are irrational and that the strike is putting patient safety at risk. In Italy, airline workers and some pilots go on strike to express their dissatisfaction and the non-renewal of their collective agreements. The strike called by the air transport unions began at 10 a.m. and will last until 6 p.m. local time. The mobilized workers are demanding the renewal of the collective agreement, which expired 6 years ago. According to local media reports, hundreds of flights have been cancelled as a result of the strikes, and most of them domestic and some with European destinations such as Madrid, Amsterdam and Barcelona, affecting more than 250,000 travelers. Workers at Gatwick Airport, London's second busiest airport, announced a strike from Friday, July 28th to Tuesday, August 1st, and another from Friday, August 4th to Tuesday, August 8th. On Saturday, Azerbaijan accused Armenian separatists in the Nagorno-Karabakh region of using radio interference against a passenger aircraft. Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev and Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan are set to meet on Saturday in Brussels for a round of talks aimed at resolving the conflict for the control of the Armenian-populated Karabakh. European Council President Charles Michel will mediate the discussion, which come amid renewed tensions after Azerbaijan closed the Lashin corridor, the only land between Karabakh and Armenia. On Friday, 70,000 people rallied in Karabakh to demand the reopening of this corridor. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, sub-stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. Russian air defense systems and Navy forces repelled a drone attack on the port city of Sevastopol on the Crimean Peninsula and the main base of the Russian Black Sea Fleet. Sevastopol Governor Mikhail Razbosayev was the first to report the failed attack on his social networks. Later, the defense minister presented a report on the incident, stated that the anti-aircraft defenses shot down 2 Ukrainian drones over the sea at a great distance from the coast, and 5 more crashed. The Coast Guard detected and destroyed 2 unmanned boats of the Ukrainian armed forces in the north of the Black Sea. The defense agency reported that there were no casualties or material damage as a result of the failed attack. The U.S. acknowledged that the Ukrainian counteroffensive did not achieve any of its original objectives. On the contrary, it has suffered heavy losses. In a statement to the press, the commander of the U.S. Joint Operations Chief of Staff, Douglas Arthur, said that the Kiev offensive was not as successful as expected, while the Russian armed forces have shown competence beyond their expectations. The official argues that the Ukrainian army is experiencing very problems during the counteroffensive, and this is the reason why they are not advancing in line with expectations. For his part, Kiev argued that the situation was due to a shortage of weapons, even though its western sportsmen have been supplying increasingly heavy weapons, including tanks, drones, and fighter jets. A stock of grains and pulses in Russia's agricultural organizations experienced an annual increase in 58% by the end of June 2023, up to now 13 million tons approximately. According to the country's statistics service, stocks of wheat had an annual increase of 74.2%, which translates into about 7.45 million tons by the end of June, and of grain corn increased by 8.1% until 1.60 million tons. Meanwhile, stock of oil, seeds, and fruit also increased. Russian authorities claim that grain production increased despite sanctions issued from the West and despite irregularities regarding the Black Sea Grain Agreement. On Saturday, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov praised the solid foundation of the relations between Thailand and Russia. Lavrov arrived on an official visit to the Thai coastal resort of Phuket, where he met with his Thai counterpart Don Pramudwinai and attended the opening ceremony of the Russian Consulate General in Phuket. Speaking at the ceremony, he praised the relations between the two countries, which made cooperation possible regardless of the fluctuations in the geopolitical situation. In Kenya, the 5th African Union Mid-Year Coordination Meeting took place on Sunday, which is the main forum for coordinating the work and the implementation of the Continental Integration Agenda since 2017. The objective of the meetings were to evaluate and coordinate efforts to accelerate the integration process, harmonize policies with the regional economic communities, identify areas of cooperation, and establish mechanisms at continental and global level in each sector or subsector. Representatives of member states, economic communities, regional mechanisms, and international partner organizations participated in the meeting. Sunday's agenda included statements by the chairperson of the African Union Commission, Musa Kafi Mahamat, the Kenyan President William Ruto, and the President of the Comoros, Azali Assoumani, who is also the AU chairperson. Iraqi Prime Minister Muhammad Shia al-Sudani began an official visit to Syria aimed at strengthening bilateral relations and cooperation in several fields. Al-Sudani was received at the People's Presidential Palace. He then held bilateral talks with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, during which they discussed the current states of bilateral relations and other issues of common interest, in particular joint efforts in the fight against terrorism. According to Syrian presidency, during the meeting, the two sides reaffirmed their commitment to cooperate in various fields, including trade, transport, and industry. They also addressed ongoing coordinations on several political issues. This is the first official visit of an Iraqi prime minister to Damascus in 13 years. During the meeting between the president of Syria and the prime minister of Iraq, they ratified the willingness of the governments to eradicate the consumption and trafficking of drugs in society.
We also discussed the issue of drugs, which is currently the most dangerous problem, and it is not different from terrorism. Drugs can destroy societies the same way terrorism can. The Prime Minister and I have discussed a lot of topics indeed.
I agree with Your Excellence on the challenge of drugs, which is a very dangerous issue that threatens our societies and affects our young people in a destructive and dangerous way. We have discussed and agreed today on finding mechanisms for coordination, tracking and following up, and that this would be the best method to tackle this dangerous issue.
We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For telesur English, I'm Alena Razabal. Thank you for watching.